Goddesses and gods gather around. Welcome to Mythology and Makeup. I'm Vanessa, and I'm thrilled to share my passion of mythology with you while I get ready for the day. Let's uncover the fascinating stories of mythology together, from Athena's wisdom to the captivating stories of the muses and everything in between. So grab your brushes and a mirror, and let's unleash the beauty and magic within. Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome back for another mythology deep dive. Today we are going to start a new series. We have gone over the top 3 mythologies that are most common to everyone. Greek mythology, Roman mythology, and Egyptian mythology. So I did a poll and we decided on Norse mythology. So we are going to jump into that today. I'm super excited. The only thing I knew about Norse mythology before I started doing this research was, Marvel, Thor, Odin, Loki. And that was like the extent of it. I knew that it was like Norse mythology. And I knew Norse mythology was like, had to do with the Vikings and stuff. But I never went deep into it and like really learned about Norse mythology. So let's learn about it today. I'm going to do a look that matches my dress. Isn't it cute? Cute little dress. So, Norse mythology, or Nordic or Scandinavian mythology, was practiced by the North Germanic people during the Middle Ages before they converted to Christianity. But some people still continued to practice Norse mythology. Like they didn't convert over to Christianity. They stood their ground. It was practiced for about 1,000 to 1,500 years between the year 790 CE to 1100 CE. In the early days of the Scandinavian Christianity, Snorri set out to record some of the old stories about the gods and goddesses of the Nordic people. He recorded old myths with love and enthusiasm. He wrote the Edda, which I think I'm saying that correctly. If not, I do apologize. But the Edda. And it was so successful that most of our knowledge of the northern myths are largely derived from it. And we also have been able to discover some poetry and things after, after the book was written, after his book of myths was written, and it was super, super accurate. But his writings, when he did this, it was 200 years after Christianity was accepted in the year 1000. So that's insane. Like, they were still, talking about it. Saxo, I think that's how we were supposed to pronounce it. But if I did, again, I do apologize. He also recorded some old myths, but Snorri felt like the other people just didn't do it as justice as he did. He was like the other people weren't like into whatever. We don't really care. But he really did. He did a good job. So we're gonna start off with the creation story / Odin's eye, because you can't have the creation story without Odin. So it began. Snorri wrote, "In the beginning there was nothing. No sand, no sea, no cooling of the waves, no earth, no heaven above. There was only a yearning, empty gap of Genandagop. No, I said that wrong. But it was just cold and grim. Surt came with a crashing noise, bright and burning. He had a flaming sword and the rivers of fire flowed until they turned hard from the iron maker's forge and then froze to ice. Just get this eyebrow done. The ice grew layer by layer and eventually built a bridge until it bridged the mighty magic gap. When the ice met the sparks of the flames and the flowing lava, the drips of the water were miraculously formed the first frost giant Ymir and his cow. He would drink from his cow's milk, and when the cow would lick the ice, it was super salty, so it was like, that tastes good. Kept licking and licking and licking, and uncovered a handsome god and his wife. They had 3 sons, and one of them was the mighty Odin. Odin, the ruler of heaven and earth, the greatest and the most glorious of gods and all fathers. Odin and his brothers killed Ymir, which, does that sound familiar? You know, we're killing, like in Greek mythology, killed their, well, in Greek mythology, they killed their dad, but, basically, isn't that like their grandpa? Considered their grandpa? But they killed him. And from his body, they used his body to create the earth. They made the world from his flesh was the soil, and his blood was the sea. His bones and teeth became the stones, and his hair became the trees, and his skull became the sky. And they used his eyebrows to create Middle Earth, and that is where the humans lived. The humans resided in Middle Earth. Odin and his brothers created the first humans out of driftwood that they found just on the shore one day. They were walking and they were like, oh my god, this looks like, these two look like bodies. Let's go ahead and create some humans out of these. So that's what they did. Odin breathed the air of life into them, the breath of life into them, and then his brothers gave the humans, like, like the way to think, the way to feel, all the characteristics that are needed to be a breathing entity, breathing, living human being. Odin established the city of Asgard, where he built his feast hall with its roof of golden shields and 540 doors. I don't know who needs 540 doors, but to each their own, I guess. You do you, bro, but that's a lot. That is a lot of doors. It's a lot of rooms if you think about it. A lot of rooms. He also had a silver palace nearby, and that is where his throne was. And that is where he would sit and do all his business. He'd watch over the 9 worlds from the highest bright heaven to the dark, damp underworld named Hell, which was also ruled by a goddess named the same thing, Hell. But only H-E-L, not H-E-double-L. He could see the lands of where all the gods were, and he could see the lands of the frost giants and the fire giants. He could see the lands of the light elves and the lands of the dark elves and the lands of the dwarfs in their halls of stone and Middle Earth where the humans lived. They add some shimmer to that. And maybe, I wish I had like, I have black eyeshadow, but I don't have like black shimmer, which I think would look so good with this. But I think I want to add just a little bit of like, there's that brush. Make it a little darker. On the edge. Now I'll just take a fluffy brush and just blend it. So, I know I mentioned the 9 worlds, but let's go a little bit more into detail about it before we get a little bit more in depth about Odin, so we know what is going on. So, there were 9 worlds that all the beings lived in, and at the center of these worlds was a tree. And the tree's name was Jagenstril. I will put the name right here, because every time I try to pronounce it wrong. The gods lived in the heavenly realm of Asgard, and the humans lived in Midgard or Mid-Earth. Outside of the gods, those 9 worlds had other beings on them, such as the elves that I mentioned and the dwarfs. How cool would it be if elves and dwarves were real? That would be the coolest of cool. If elves and dwarves were real. I think I need to take some of the lighter red back into this corner, to my inner corner again. Just soften up that black. Just like that. Oh yeah, that orange shimmer looks way better than the red one did. Bring it into that inner corner. Right there. But let us do put a little bit of the red on top so it's not as orange, because I'm not trying to go for orange. I am wearing a red dress. So let's put some of the red on top of that. Oh yeah, that looks perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I do want to take this flat brush and just... I know I'm going to put eyeliner on and you probably won't. I just want to pack that red in right there. Pack it in up here as well. Just blend it. Travel between these worlds happened often. Either it's the gods or other beings interacting with humanity. There were 3 different creatures that lived on the tree itself, and there were 3 major roots. And at the base of one of these roots lived the Norns, which were female entities associated with fate. But they weren't in the underworld. Because the underworld, don't think the underworld was down there. From my reading, I didn't see that it said that the underworld was down there. Not the, the underworld. Odin could see everything and everyone at any given time. And in case he missed something, he would have his little ravens named Thought and Memory fly over the 9 realms as his little spies and tell him everything. And sometimes Odin even wandered the 9 realms himself, the 9 worlds himself. One of his first quests that he ever took was to search out for the Well of Wisdom. And when he found it, he traded one of his eyes for a single sip of enlightenment. And so that is why he's called Odin One Eye. Because the man only got one eye. Before I forget, put the eyeshadow under the eye. Cannot forget the eyeshadow under the eye. It is a necessity. If you don't put eyeshadow under your eye, you should try it because it's fun. It is fun. Okay, back to the liner. Odin was Snorri's favorite. Out of all of the 12 gods and the 12 goddesses of the Norse people, he held him to a high standard. Was his favorite. But the Icelanders had, in fact, a longtime favorite, and that was the god of thunder, Thor. Thor himself was their favorite. They named their children after the mighty thunder god. And in the 12th century, there's a record of, like, the names of to children and like the people. And a lot of them had Thor in their name. But there was not one found with Odin's name. Oh, uh-oh. Odin is rarely mentioned in the sagas and for a good sailing, the people would call upon Thor. But Snorri was not too fond of Thor, so he was like, let's talk about Odin. Okay, buddy. This is not your, like, religion, my dude. But okay. I'll just put a little bit of concealer over that, so it'll be okay. Do I want to add rhinestones? I don't think I want to add rhinestones. I think this is good for the side. So I'm going to do my other eye real fast, and I will be right back. All right, I am back. So Odin was the god for the aristocrats, not just the king of gods, but the gods of kings, the god of kings. He was the one, okay? He was like the Ra of Egyptian mythology, or the Zeus or Jupiter of the Roman and the Greeks. He was a large and in charge, okay? Out here. There were many he had a horse that was like the best horse, okay? Because this horse had 8 legs. 8 whole legs. I mean, that's got to be the fastest horse, the biggest horse. He only needed one, not multiple. It had 8 whole legs. 8 whole legs. He had a golden helmet and a fine coat of mail, a spear, and a gold ring that magically dripped 8 more rings every single night. Okay, so this man this god, just was dripping in gold. Dripping in gold. Odin gave men the gift of poetry. Because, he had the wisdom. He had the wisdom. There were different types of sacrifices that were made to Odin, whether it was animals, men, and even women. Sometimes there were battlefield sacrifices, so the kings would make a pact with Odin, and they would have to, be like, hey, help us win this fight, and we will give you sacrifices. And so they would sacrifice those who were killed on the battlefield. So, those people already died, so I guess that's okay. I guess that'll do. He was also associated with the god of the dead. Frequently. It is frequently mentioned in literature. There were ritual hangings. There were skeletons of horses found, and over the years, a gruesome series of human bodies were also found. The type of sacrifice most typical of the cult of Odin was that of the men that were killed in the battlefield, like I mentioned, or they were just put to death by the victors. So after they won, they're like, okay, we beat you, bye. You're done. You're done. The victors would use a symbol of the warrior's death as Odin's spear. It was a great treasure, and that would determine the victory by the direction of which it took over the battlefield. Also, the wives of the people that lost in battle were, also sacrificed. Most of the time, they would voluntarily give themselves to death because their men were killed. So, I guess that's okay. But when I was reading this was like the first time that like human sacrifice to a god was like okayed, because in Greek mythology there's one that I read that Menelaus sacrificed his daughter for some good wind, and the gods were not too happy about that. No, they were not too happy. So that is all the information that I have down for today. So let me finish my makeup really fast. Oopsie. Oh. That brush fell off my nose. Now I got blush on my... Oh my god, I can't believe I did that. It's okay. It's just makeup. I can fix it easily. Alright, I'm going to fix this and then put my lashes and my lipstick on, well, my lip stain on, and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Oh. My hair is crazy. Setting powder. I already put the highlight on and my little powder, my foundation powder. But this is the finished look. What do we think? Do we like it? I think it's cute. It matches my dress. So, but I hope you guys enjoyed my video today. And as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Leave me a comment down below and like this video. But as always, I will be back next Saturday with another video. And in that time, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and your upcoming week. Bye, guys.